Hi everyone, we're live at the PRSA International Conference in Indianapolis. I'm Deirdre Breckenridge and I'm here with Martin Waxman, who is president of Martin Waxman Communications. He's also the chair of Counselors Academy.
Yeah.
Hi Martin, it's so great to be with you.
Great to see you again, Deirdre.
Are you enjoying the conference so far?
Yeah, and Counselors Academy, it's a section of the Public Relations Society of America for independent PR agency owners and leaders, and we actually just had our board meeting. So I'm coming from that with lots of ideas for the future, hopefully, for independent practitioners.
Good. Well, we have so much to talk about. This is a conference about innovation and connectivity. So let's talk about the traditional past of PR. What are we taking forward to help us with building our relationships with the media?
Well, I think the essence of our relationships is something that we are taking forward, and it's something that PR people have forgotten. And the essence is that we hopefully can provide them with something of value.
Value, good word.
And something that can help them do their job,
right.
Get their stories, really connect with their audience, who are their readers. In some ways, well, in every way, media are influencers. I mean, they were the first influencers, you know. And part of that is understanding something called control mutuality. And I'm throwing this out there because I am doing my master's in communications management.
So you're learning too.
Yes, from McMaster University in Hamilton, and also it's a joint Syracuse program. And we were talking about relationships this week there, so this is really timely. And control mutuality is a concept that is the balance of power in a relationship. So too often, PR people think the balance of power is equal. It's not. Like our relationship with journalists or influencers, I think in general, is that they really hold more of the power, and we need to accept that and work within that. And again, not always ask them for stuff, but realize that we have to give them stuff too.
Right, because we're a partner with them, no matter what kind of influencer you're working with. And what do you think is the biggest change with media and relationship building, aside from understanding the power dynamic?
I think it's this technological device we used to call the telephone. Do you remember those things? You know, you picked it up.
I had one. It was on the wall.
Yeah, I actually, when I started, I used to dial.
No, me too. All right.
So
we just dated ourselves.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the big things, because that was great. I love the phone. And I love, because, you know, I think a lot of people in PR are social people. We like to talk. We like to talk to media. I loved publicity. And I started out as a publicist, and I love calling media and just chatting with them and coming up with story ideas, and then, you know, following up again just to get something. And then the result of that clip, when that appeared, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And I still get a thrill when I see that. But it really was the telephone. That was our main communication vehicle, that and in person. And to a certain extent, email, and then email started to take precedence. And I think we forgot that we just need to focus on that one-to-one relationship. So that's something that we need to keep in the front of our mind. So even though it is email or social media is a way we connect with them, it is a one-to-one relationship. It's not blasting it out. And how do we, again, going back to that, you know, reciprocity, think about them and their stories. And I think using that really will help us build relationships with anyone.
Yes, and technology helps us to be more targeted and to understand people and to take the time to learn about them. So you're absolutely right. You mentioned the word influencer, and I've heard so many different definitions, so I want to ask you, what is an influencer, and what is the best way for PR professionals to engage with our influencers today?
It's a great question. And I'll tackle the what is an influencer by really, I'll try to define it. No, I think an influencer is a person who is respected and trusted by a community, and that community could be big or small. And the community looks to that person for advice, for content curation, for content creation, maybe for thoughts on product, services, different things like that. And I think the one thing that we need to remember is, just like media who are context specific. So you don't go to a business reporter if you're pitching a movie story.
Right.
Influencers are context specific, except they probably drill down even deeper. So that's how I like to think of influencers, and it's amazing because I don't think you can just go out there and say, I am an influencer, you know.
No, and anybody who does, you might be scared of.
Right. It's something that the community, their audience, really bestows
Right.
on them,
It gives them.
that trust. And it is trust.
Yes.
It's trust. And that's why, you know, when influencers don't disclose a commercial relationship they have with a brand, they can erode the trust.
That's a really good point that you made, because I think that's something that we're all learning and focusing on, that you really have to be transparent, and that's something that's so natural in public relations. We were born with this transparency and accuracy, so there too in our relationships we have to do that. So we have all of this great technology. What do you think creates a really strong relationship in an age where you can connect with anyone, anywhere?
I think it's something we talked about a little before, reciprocity. And in every relationship, there's that give and take. You know, I give you something, chances are you want to give me something in return. And I think if we start as PR people with wanting reciprocity from journalists, so saying, hey, here's my story, write about it, or with influencers, they'll kind of go, who are you? Kind of like the boor at a party, right? Who just comes up and says, hey, I got some great stuff to sell you. Whereas if we think about what they want, who they are, what they need, and part of that is research. I mean, research is a huge part of PR.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of agencies, because you can't really bill it all the time, so it gets thrown to not to the side, but doesn't get as much importance, but really doing your research. I think one of the worst things that happened were those big, huge databases of media and influencers. If all PR people do is rely on them, they're a fantastic resource, but you have to start at the source. So find the influencer, read what they've written, whether it's on their blog or on social media or other platforms, and it's like a courtship. You have to introduce yourself to them first before throwing stuff at them, and you have to like them, and you have to respect them, and you have to be creative when you approach them. And then it's amazing how you can see the results of that, you know, in something that benefits both of them. And if I can go back to that master's studies, two-way symmetrical communications, James Grunig, a PR theorist, you know.
I haven't heard that name for a long time.
I know. I had to throw it out there to show at least some of it sinking in.
Absolutely. Well, I think there's so many opportunities with our influencers. What do you think, you know, here we have this opportunity to connect. Are we the best suited in the organization to be the connectors and the storytellers? Is that a natural thing for PR professionals in this day and age?
Of course we are.
I know that was a loaded question.
How could I say no?
But it seems like everybody wants to tell a story today.
No, and it's really true. I actually think that community management is a really good model for PR people to adopt. Because if you think about it, we always managed a community. It was generally that community of media, and we focused on them, we created stories for them, hopefully we had relationships with them, and they trusted us and knew they could count on us. And I think if we use those principles and just think about our bigger communities, influencers, our customers, partners, stakeholders, it doesn't matter, but think of them as part of our community. And we're not the top-down managers, but we're there almost to orchestrate the connections and the relationship and try to help where we can. I think it's a really great thing to learn, and I think if younger people can do that and educate their bosses, it would be fantastic, because it really would make us the center of those stories.
Definitely. Well, I've always said that public relations has been so close to customer service. We're all in customer service. Back in the day when your name was on a news release, a customer would call you up, or they used to call me up and say, Deirdre, you know, could you help me with this product, or where can I find out about this installation? And you still would help. You wouldn't say, that's not my job. Same thing today.
Yes.
You have to take care of your community, all those communities.
Yes, and it's so funny that you say that because believe it or not, I got a call about a month ago from a news release I sent out 6 years ago. So it's still all out there.
And it's relevant. It's out there, yes.
And I wasn't being paid, but I tried to help the person who was a blogger, a lifestyle blogger,
Right.
and pointed her to who she should connect with because that's really, it's just part of our DNA.
Definitely. So where do you see the storytelling, which we just talked about, the content creation, how does that help to build the relationship?
Well, I think we were way too reliant on messages for too long. And if you think back to old media training tactics, deflect, bridge, all of those things. Right now we need to tell stories more. And it's something that we have always done, or we used to do really well, and then we kind of got involved in corporate speak. But we need to move back to how do we frame that story with a protagonist, and that three-legged stools of stories. You have a character in search on a quest to find something who encounters an obstacle. Now that obstacle is conflict, and a lot of clients don't want to deal with that, but we need to figure out how to portray conflict in our stories in a positive way, or as positive as we can. And I think if we can focus on that and then becoming better at getting beyond the printed word. We have to be amazing writers, absolutely.
Yes,
but
always writing.
How do we tell those stories visually?
Well, Martin, you have given such great advice, awesome insights. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live.
Thank you for having me.
Great having you.